I disagree with the motion, Deputy Speaker. Every Saturday night, thousands of locals head to Eastwood for a night out with their friends and family. Just before last year's election, a so-called activist stepped into the middle of Eastwood Town Centre, holding a sign that bore an offensive message directed at Chinese Australians. He sought to provoke not just any crowd, but particularly Bennelong's Chinese Australian community. Deputy Speaker, this environment, where Chinese Australians were targeted and attacked, was an environment fuelled by the anti-China rhetoric of the Morrison government. Research by Per Capita and the Australian Asian Alliance in 2020 revealed that Chinese Australians experienced increased levels of racial attacks, with one person interviewed linking the Morrison government's megaphone diplomacy as a reason for this increase. And with this motion today, Deputy Speaker, we see the Liberals once again happy to use Australia's migrant communities to make a cheap political point. Again, they do not care what the consequences of their words and ideology have on multicultural Australia. This was a consequence that the Morrison government was happy to create. But clearly the Liberals didn't learn anything from the message multicultural communities sent to them at the last election. Yet again, we see them happy to use words which will impact our local Chinese Australian communities in a ham-fisted attempt to slow down progress on our much-needed transition to renewable energy. I mean, this motion is just so offensive and so absurd. Nearly every connected device in our home and workplace is either wholly or partially made in China. Yet the Liberals would have us believe that it is only solar panels and inverters that pose a threat to our national security. They just so happen to be the same types of technology that they are ideologically opposed to as well. Their opposition to renewable energy is not only flawed in its logic, but also deeply damaging to our collective vision for a clean energy future right here in Australia. Renewable energy solutions are vital in combating climate change and securing cleaner, cheaper energy for generations to come. Instead of working with the government to aid this transition, those opposite are choosing to target these products in a misguided attempt to derail what Australians voted for at the last election, Deputy Speaker. And to make matters worse, the fact that the Liberals again are choosing words that will impact Chinese Australians on their anti-renewable escapade is unjust and it is dangerous. Make no mistake, this government believes that we should be making solar panels and inverters here. That's logical. That will grow our economy and secure our energy future. And that's why we're investing record amounts in local manufacturing, something, of course, the Liberal Party voted against. Of course, they've resurrected their nuclear fantasy in opposition in another attempt to oppose renewable energy. No progress on nuclear power in their nearly decade in government, but their radioactive opposition to clean energy knows no bounds, Deputy Speaker. And now with this motion, they're happy again to throw local Chinese Australians under the bus in another attempt to demonise a perfectly viable, affordable and safe energy source. When former Prime Minister Morrison wanted to score cheap votes, he attacked China in a way that impacted Chinese Australians. And just last week we heard the reports of the member for Cook telling the Liberal Party room to hold the line as he spoke out against this government's attempts to restore our relationship with our largest trading partner. And then last year, when the Liberals realised they'd left Australia with a national housing crisis, instead of proposing solutions or even voting for the government's solutions, the Leader of the Opposition stood up in this place and decided to blame migrants for the problems that they created. This motion is just another attempt to slow down our transition to green energy production and again uses our migrant communities to do so. Deputy Speaker, this motion shows that the modern Liberal Party are out of touch with modern multicultural Australia. This motion is an absolute disgrace. The politics of the Liberal Party are an absolute disgrace. And my message to the Liberal Party is this: stop using migrant communities to score political points. Stop making Chinese Australians a target as you give oxygen to your conspiracy theories. Deputy Speaker, both my parents were born overseas, and I've seen them live a life of being mocked because of their accent and their surname. For as long as I'm in this place, I'll stand up and defend migrant communities, not only in Bennelong but across Australia, for the same happening to them.